friends, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to talk about some list operations. We've used lists before in our previous videos, but lists are pretty popular and common and very useful in Python. So we're going to talk more about them and how we can do some, very common and useful operations on them. So let's get started. We want to write three functions, and the first function is supposed to get the list L and reverse it. The second one concatenates lists L1 and L2. And then the third one returns the largest element in any given list, right? Let's get started. But before we actually start coding, make sure that we're not using any of the built-in functions. Obviously, I will show you how to do them using the built-in functions, but the main purpose of this video is to practice the basic concepts, for loops, while loops. I don't know, like everything that we learned so far, right? So let's just focus on that for now. Let's just start with importing random. I'm using random because I want to, randomly generate some list. And I'm gonna go L1 equals, this is a way of making a random list, random.sample. And then I'm going to give it a range from, I don't know, 1 to 100 and give me 5 elements. So what it does is that it returns a list of 5 elements, and each element is within this range, 1 to 100, right? Let's see. Print L1, and if we run this, it's a list of 5 elements. The elements are randomly generated, right? Cool. I want to generate another list as well, but I don't want to use it this way. I want to show you another way of generating random list. So I'm going to go L2. It's an empty list for now, right? But I'm going to go for I in range, I don't know, 7, for example. So I want the L2 list to have 7 elements. I'm going to go L2 dot append. So this is one of the built-in functions, but not really a function, it's just like add a value to the list, right? I'm just going to say random dot rand int. And he remembered it's already like 1 to 100. So 7 times we execute this line in here. And what it does is that it appends to L2, which is an empty list for now, a randomly generated number. The second time it comes through, it has 1 element, and then it randomly generates a second element and it just adds it to. So basically what it does, like the syntax for that is list name, whatever it is, and it goes dot append, and whatever comes in here is added to the list, right? And so if we go here and print L2 now, let's see what we get. It's a random list. It has 7 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the elements are randomly selected from within this range. So we have our matrices, we have our lists, that's okay. And let's start with the Python functions actually. So the first one is supposed to reverse a given list, right? So I'm gonna call it rev list, for example. Again, it can have any names, honestly. And it's gonna get something. I'm just gonna call it my list. And we want to reverse it, right? Okay, how do we do that? This function that I'm writing right now, it won't be efficient by any means, right? But again, we just want to practice something in here. We don't care about the efficiency yet. So I'm gonna go like this, reversed list, right? This is supposed to be the output. This is supposed to be the results. Let's just call that reversed func, and that's the name of function, and the reversed list is going to be called rev list. So for now, it's an empty list, just like what we did up here, right? And now what I want to do is that the list len equals length of my list. So this is another function. You give it a list and it returns the length of the list. How many elements do you have in here, right? So if I call that on L1, it gives me 5. If I call it on L7, it gives me 7, right? And now that we have that, I go for I in range list len. So I'm iterating through all the elements. It goes from 0 to 6, for example, if we have 7 elements. And what I want to do is that I'm going to go rev list dot append, right? The thing that we used here. What do I want to append here? We're reversing in any given list, right? Let's just say, for example, my list is 1, 2, 3, right? So I want 3 to be the first element, 2 be the second element, and 1 be the last element, right? So the first element that goes to rev list, which is the reverse list, is supposed to be the last element in here, right? So I'm gonna go, this is my list, and what's the index? List len. Is that correct? I don't think so. List len, here we have 3 elements, and that would be 3, right? But as we told you, Python uses 0 indexing. So this is index 0, this is 1, this is 2. If you go my list 3, it says, well, we don't have that. I don't know what it is. So it's supposed to be list len minus I, minus 1, right? So it works for the first one because it says, okay, my list index 2, which is this one, goes to the first one. And then next time we do this loop, I is 1, right? But this is not changing. This is a fixed value. So I'm just going to go this minus I. So I goes from 0, 1 to 2, right? If it's 0, it gives me the last one, index 2. If it's 1, it gives me 1, which is the second element. And if it's 2, then this whole thing in here would be 0, which is 0 index, and that's the first element in here. And then once this loop is done, we're gonna return the rev list. Interesting. Let's see if that works. I go print rev func, and I'm gonna give it L1 so that we can compare it. I'm just gonna print L1 in here as well, because every time it's gonna be a random number, and it's good to see if it actually works. If I run this, it says L1 is this, and then the reverse value is this, which you can see. The last one here is 2, goes to the first one. 62, 62, 96, 96, 56, 56, and 47, 47. So this is about the first function. We showed you how to reverse the list, but we can also do something. As I promised you, I'm going to show you how to do it in a more Pythonic way. I'm going to go L1, column, minus 1. Just as simple as that. It reversed the function for you. Let's see how it works. To do this, it says 74, 20, 41, 22, and 11. This is the list, and this is the reverse list. The first one is what we calculated. The third one in here is like a more Pythonic way of doing it. So you can remember this from now on. If we wanted to reverse a list, we can simply do this. Okay, good. So this was about the first function. The second function, we wanted to concatenate lists. Okay, let's call that define. Just gonna close this down for now. Concat func, and it's gonna get list 1 and list 2. Okay, we're gonna concatenate these and then return a list that is the result, right? So I'm gonna go concat list just like before. It's an empty list, and I'm just gonna go for I. We can actually do this in a different way too. Well, let's go ahead like this. For I in list 1, it means for I, or like, let's just change it so it's not confusing. For E in list 1, which means like for each element in list 1. You see, I'm not providing a range here. I'm saying for each element in the list, right? I'm going to go concat list the depend E, right? So it gets the element from list 1, like adds them or append them to a concat list. And once it's done, I'm going to do the same thing for the second function, for the second list. For E in list 2 this time, because we've already done 1, concat list dot append E, right? And then once done, we go return concat list, right? And let's see how this works. If I go concat function of, we define L1 and L2. So obviously we need to print L1, print L2, and then here print mode that. But what did I do? Print that. And this is supposed to be concat function, right? So if we run that, let's clear this in here, and then we run this. It says L1 is this, L2 is this. If we concatenate these two, this is what we get, right? As you see, the first part is basically L1, and then L2 is concatenated. It's added here. This is one way of doing that. A more Pythonic way would be just to print L1 plus L2. Super easy, right? Let's see how that works. And if we calculate correctly. Yes, you see, this is how we calculated using our own function, and this is what we can do using a simple plus sign in here. Very easy. So this is about the second function, and now let's do the third one, which was a function that returns the largest element in any given list. So let's go. Def max list, maybe, or max func. Just be consistent with our naming. And we get a list. So I'm just going to go my list so we can give it any meaningful name. So let's see. I'm going to go. How do we do that? Let's see. What's our logic? What I want to do is to iterate through my list and just assume that the first one is the biggest one, right? And if I found something bigger than that, then I'm going to update my value. So I'm going to go max list, which is like the maximum value in my list, is my list 0. Nice. And now I can go for I in my list. So I'm iterating through all the elements in my list. If I, the list, the element that I find is greater than max list. If I found anything bigger than the first one, then I'm gonna update max list. Use max list is I now, right? Let's see. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that let's say you have a list of 3, 6, 1, 0, 9, right? What it does here is that it says, okay, my list 0, the first element 3, I'm assuming it's the maximum. And it says, okay. And then now here, you're looping through. It says for I in my list. So in the first round that you run in this loop, I would be 3. Then it's going to be 6. Then 1, 0, and finally 9. So it comes here. Is 3 more than 3? Is it greater than 3? It's not. So we don't do anything. It goes to the next one. 6. Is 6 greater than 3? Yes. So max list is now 6. And now we have 1. Is 1 greater than 6? No, it's not. Let's skip that. Is 0. Is 0 greater than 6? No, it's not. And then the last one, is 9 greater than 6? Yes, it is. So axis is updated to 9. And once it's done, we go return max list. Okay, let's see if it works. I'm gonna go print L1, print L2. We see them now. And then print max function on L1. And then we can obviously do the same thing here for L2 and see if that works. If I run this, it says this is list 1, and then this is the maximum, which is obviously through 86 is the greatest number. This is L2. We can see that 67 here is the greatest value, and we are successfully returning the greatest value. You can simply use the same logic to return the minimum value. You just go if I less than this, and then like you have the minimum value. And but what's the Pythonic way? The Pythonic way would simply be max L1 or print max L2. We can have those. Let's actually put this together so it won't be confusing. Right? Okay, so first we print L1 and then maximum of L1 calculated using our own function and then Python function. The same thing goes for L2. Okay, let's see. We do this. This is L1, 72 is indeed the maximum value, be calculated correctly. And here for the second one, 93 is the maximum value, which we both calculated correctly. This is about the Python lists. We covered this, but we did more than this. We talked about the append, len, and what else did we talk about? Yeah, that's basically this. But let's do something else before saying goodbye. We can actually do something else too, which is like very, very good to know. Let's just bring this back. Print L1, print L2. We can go L equals L1 dot extend, right? And then L2. What it does is that it's basically kind of like the append function, but it gets a list. So it extends list L1 by list L2, right? And then we can go print. Maybe you can think of it as a concatenation as well, but it's more than that. Concatenation does not change any of the given lists, but this actually extends it, right? If I go print L1 here, you will see that it says this is L1 in here, this is L2, and L1 extended by L2 is this guy in here, right? It's also good to know this. And then the last one that I wanted to show you was to say that, let's say I go L or cap, doesn't matter. Like you can just use lowercase or uppercase. I can go 1, the concept of multiply, right? 10, and then print out. So what it does is that it says, okay, L is a list of one element, and there is only like one element in there, and that element is the integer 1. And when you multiply it by 10, it basically extends it. So now you're going to have 10 ones, right? Let's see how this works. If I run this, this is what I get, right? Super easy. That's pretty much all the functions that you need to know for list operation. Actually, while we are here, let's do something else too. I want to show you this before I forget. Print L1, and now I want to go print L1. Like this. So what it does is that it prints L1 from the the third position here, second index, right? And it just like prints that. It's called slicing a list. It's good. Sometimes you just need to deal with some part of the list, right? So if you run this, you see 98, 65, 49, and so on. And then when I go from index 2 to the end. So this syntax, column and nothing, it means just continue from position 2. And this is position 0, this is position 1, and this is position 2. So 49 and so on. You can do reverse things. You can go like from here to position 4. I want to see that. And it says, okay, if this is what I have, position 4 would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a skip, right? Like it's like, this is how ranges work. So you get like the first 4 elements here as well. And then you can obviously like combine those. I wanted to see from 2 to 4. And then when you run that, it says 2 to 4 would be 25 and 33, right? That's pretty much everything. There is one very important function that we haven't used yet, and that's the sort function. We're going to talk about that in the next video as it's its own whole topic. Thank you for joining us. Let me know if you have questions in the comments, and I'd be happy to answer. And let me know if you want me to focus on a certain topic, and that can be arranged as well. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye. See you in the next video.